Hey everyone, I'm going to do a rendition of Possum Magic by Mem Fox. Once upon a time, but not that long ago, deep in the Australian bush lived two possums. Their names were Hush and Grandma Poss, and Grandma Poss could do bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. But the best magic of all was the magic that made Hush invisible. What adventures Hush could have when she couldn't be seen! She got squashed by koalas and she slid down kangaroos. She was even safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. But one day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, "Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please, could you make me visible again?" "Of course I can make you visible again," said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. She looked in this book and she looked in that. There was magic for thin and magic for fat, magic for tall and magic for small. But the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. Grandma Poss looked miserable. "Don't worry, Grandma, I don't mind," said Hush. But in her heart of hearts, she did. Grandma Poss sat and thought and thought and thought, and the next day, just before breakfast, she jumped up. "I've got it," she said. "It's something to do with food, but not possum food, human food. I can't remember what though. We're going to have to go and look for it." So that day, they left the bush where they'd always been to find what it was that would make Hush seen. They travelled all over Australia. They had Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, minties in Melbourne, steak in Sydney, and pumpkin scones in Brisbane. But Hush remained invisible. "Don't lose heart," said Grandma Poss. So they kept looking. It was in the far north of Australia, in Darwin, that they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her claws and crossed her feet. Hush took a deep breath and began to eat. "A tail," said Grandma Poss, and she was right. Hush's tail had reappeared, but the rest of her was still invisible. So they kept looking. Later, on a beach in Perth, they found a piece of pavlova. Hush took a bite. Her body appeared, and her arms and legs too. "Oh, you wonderful possum, you," said Grandma Poss. But Hush's face was still invisible, so they kept looking. The next stop, Tasmania. They sailed across the sea, and it was in the kitchens in the casino at Hobart that they found a lamington on a plate. Hush took the plate, took the lamington, and began to eat. Grandma Poss waited. Her face reappeared. Hush was finally visible again from head to toe. They were so happy that right then and there, Grandma Poss and Hush grabbed each other's hands and they started to sing and dance. "Here we go round the lamington plate so early in the morning." Well, they returned to the bush, and from that day onward, Hush was visible. But once a year, on Hush's birthday, they would always eat a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and a lamington to make sure she stayed that way.